So I guess this is what this is where we had stopped in the last week, and we were yet to start turgidity. We haven't started. Okay. So though in brief we had discussed what is turgid and what is flaccid state of the cell. There are quite a few things that we need to discuss in this particular topic. And then from there we can move forward with respect to what is the next topic and so on. So now in general, if we have to talk about turgidity and flaccidity, then we all know that every living cell, it is indirectly or indirectly in contact with fluid. So whether you talk of a plant cell in the root, that is in touch with the fluids, that is the water from the soil, and then these root hairs, they are surrounded by soil water all the time, right? So that way, this phenomena, that is turgidity and flaccidity, that is why they are important in terms of why we need to study them, because they are always in contact with the some sort of water or some sort of fluid. Now when we talk of all such cells, then in those cells there is something called as cell sap. And if you remember, cell sap is nothing but the inner content of that cell, that is the cytoplasmic material and also the vacuolar content. And when that is more concentrated than the surrounding cells, it leads to the phenomena which is called as osmosis. This we had seen, right? The movement of water from the lower concentration of solute to higher concentration of solute, that is osmosis. So cell sap is highly concentrated, outside the cell sap is less concentration, so from there to the cell sap there will be movement of water, and that is nothing but the osmosis. Now when the osmosis process keeps on happening, and when a cell will reach a stage that it cannot accommodate any further water, that is a fully distended state, that is called as turgidity. And the condition or the phenomena that is happening, or the biological process that is happening, is called as turgidity. Understand the difference. Cell is turgid and the phenomena is turgidity. Yeah, right. Cell is supposed to be or cell is called to be in a turgid state, and that process or that phenomena is called as turgidity, because this has implications especially in the board exam. If the answer is turgid and if you write turgidity, that is completely wrong, because one is the state of the cell and other one is the process or the phenomena that is happening to attain that state. So please mark this very clearly if you are making notes of this, that is turgid and turgidity. Now when a cell is turgid, it its wall is stretched under pressure from inside. Obviously it is pushing because of the inner content, and in turn there is a pressure that is exerted by the wall towards the center. So this can be seen in this diagram. So obviously osmotic pressure is, that is the because of the water movement, cell sap inside the cell, that is the inner content of the cell, or vacuolar sap that is mentioned here, has higher concentration of solute. Outside is lower concentration of solute. So water from outside will move inside and the cell will kind of become turgid. So that is one phenomenon. Now because of this turgidity, the cell membrane, that is this inner layer, is getting stretched towards the outside, so it is being pushed outside. So that is what the pressure that is exerted by the water or the turgid state of the cell is called as turgor pressure. And on contrary, there is opposite force which is acting. Now because something is pushing outward, obviously there will be opposite force which is acting towards inner content of the cell, and that is called as wall pressure, which is exerted on the cell content, and that is what is mentioned here. So when a cell is turgid, its wall is stretched under pressure from inside, and in turn it presses the cell content towards the center. The pressure of the cell content on the cell wall is called as turgor pressure. The pressure which is acting outward is turgor pressure, and the pressure exerted by the cell wall on the cell content, that is pressure which is acting towards the center, that is the wall pressure. I hope these two terminologies they are clear, because again this will be utilized often when we talk of the movement of water in the cell sap, or movement of water throughout the root hair towards the xylem. So that is the turgor pressure, wall pressure, and osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure, because of which osmosis happens, due to which turgidity happens. And then turgor pressure is when the inner content of the water is pushing the wall outside, right? That is the turgor pressure. And the wall pressure is opposite to turgor pressure, that is acting inward, which is pushing or kind of squeezing in the vacuolar sac. So that is now at any time, right? If a certain, due to certain situation, if the cell wall is unable to bear the turgor pressure, let's say more water force is acting from like osmosis process, so more water is coming inside, and that particular situation is building more turgor pressure, it will rupture the cell content and burst out. It's simple, right? If you blow the balloon beyond its capacity, it just bursts. Something similar happens here as well. If you keep pushing the water inside you, as in the osmotic pressure, so if the osmotic pressure is builded, it's built so much that it's always pushing the water inside, the turgidity will be at its maximum, and if the water is again coming more and more, it will burst open the cell. Then when a turgid cell is in somewhat balanced state, the balanced state of this cell, that is it can remain in that turgid state, is obviously when this wall pressure and turgor pressure they are equal, and there is no more water coming inside the cell. Let's say this cell is in turgid state, so its walls are completely distended. There will be some turgor pressure, there will be some wall pressure, and when these two are equal, that is turgor pressure and wall pressure, the cell is supposed to be in balanced state. If the turgor pressure increases, cell wall will burst open. If the wall pressure increases, cell membrane will kind of collapse inside, and it might go later into the cell of a state of flaccidity. So that way, when the turgor pressure and wall pressure they are equal, that will lead to the balanced state of the cell, and then there is no further absorption of water, or even though of the solute by the diffusion process, water by osmosis and solute by diffusion process. So if that is not happening, the cell is in balanced state. Any question here? Yati,
Yes, sir.
any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So then after looking at turgidity, we'll look at what exactly flaccidity means. Yeah. Now, in this particular state of flaccidity, now we already know it's like opposite of turgidity. Fully distended stage of a cell due to the excess of water is turgidity. Now, if you pick up the same cell and put it in a hypertonic solution, that is, for example, 5% salt solution, right? What will happen is outside the cell, there is higher concentration. Inside the cell, there is lower concentration. So water from inside of the cell will move towards the outside, and it will lead ultimately to the shrinkage of the cell wall or cell membrane, and this particular state is called as plasmolysis. That is nothing but the flaccidity type of situation. So flaccidity is a natural phenomenon. Plasmolysis is when the cell is coming back from the turgid state, that is plasmolysis, just a little difference. So in natural scenario, let's say there is a normal cell which is neither in turgid state and nor in flaccid state. It is just like a normal cell. And when that shrinkage will happen, that is called as flaccidity. And when a normal cell goes to the level of turgidity and comes back to the level of flaccidity, that is called as plasmolysis. So that particular, there is just a little difference in plasmolysis and flaccidity. Phenomena wise, both are same. It just one takes the straight route, another one comes back from the turgidity phenomenon. So when the cell is shrinking on its own, that is simply flaccidity. And when cell is turgid and that is coming back to the flaccid situation, that particular phenomena is called as plasmolysis. Plasmo refers to the cell cytoplasm, and lysis means kind of breakage. But in this case, it's not literally breaking, but it's kind of shrinking. So that is plasmolysis. And the cell is again said to be in the flaccid state, and the condition or the phenomena is called as flaccidity. Again, difference like turgid and turgidity, there is similar difference here in flaccid and flaccidity. And flaccidity is actually the reverse of turgidity. That is very commonly understood phenomena. That is flaccidity is shrinkage, turgidity is fully distended stage. So that way. Now, if again, so this is like a cycle now. If the plasmolyzed cell, that is a flaccid cell, is put in water, so in this case it was put in 5% salt solution, that is hypertonic outside. If you pick up the same cell which is now become flaccid, and if you put it in a just simple water without any solute before it is dead, of course, so then the protoplasm will again swell up and it will absorb the water. So osmosis will happen inside the cell, and this recovery or reversal of plasmolysis is called as deplasmolysis. So that is again coming back to the normal state or towards the turgidity, that is called as deplasmolysis. So if I have to say it in summary, we have a normal cell. When the water enters the cell, it goes towards the cell of turgidity, a state of turgidity. When that turgid cells comes back to the normal cell and then further goes to the shrinkage, that is flaccid situation, that particular state is called as plasmolysis. Process is called as plasmolysis. Again, when the plasmolyzed cell, when you put it in normal water, it will go back to the state of turgidity, and that particular process is called as deplasmolysis. So I will just draw this particular part on the board so that you have more clarity on this particular aspect. So let's say again, I'm drawing a simple cell and there is the cell membrane. Now I'm not drawing all the contents, but you can simply imagine that this particular diagram is showing that there is a pressure outside. So this is turbidity or turbid cell. Yeah, turbidity is the phenomena, that is pressure is being exerted on the wall. So in this case, your turgor pressure is more than wall pressure. Okay, so that means the pressure which is pushing it outward is more compared to the pressure which is pushing inward, that is wall pressure. Now, this particular phenomena can happen in two different ways, right? So, in this situation, you can draw another cell which can have cell wall intact. Now, forget the size difference of the cell. I am not so good in drawing exact copy of the cell. Ideally, I should draw the same size of the cell wall. Yeah, cell membrane is kind of shrunk. So let's say this is the cell membrane, which is kind of shrunk inside. So that means this pressure, opposite one, which is acting, that is the state of flaccidity. Yeah. And in this case, wall pressure, that is the pressure which is pushing inward, is more. So in this case, wall pressure is more than the turbid pressure or turgor pressure. I hope you can see the end partners. Yeah. So now this process, which is leading to cytoplasm shrinkage, is called as plasmolysis. And this process to decay the turbidity is called as deplasmolysis. Now, in some of the cases or some of the books, that imagine now from turbidity to flaccidity, there will be a stage which is of a normal cell where there is no turgor pressure and no, wall pressure as well. That is the normal amount of fluid and solute is present. When the amount of fluid or amount of water increases, becomes turbid. When the amount of water decreases, that becomes flaccid, right? The cell becomes flaccid. But there will be a stage which will have a normal state of the cell. So in most of the cases, deplasmolysis is considered as from flaccidity to normal stage and not to the turbid state always. Yeah, just a little difference with deplasmolysis. Yeah, plasmolysis is correct, but in case of deplasmolysis, flaccid cell going to the normal cell, that is the stage of deplasmolysis. That is the process of deplasmolysis. And also look at the differences in terms of which pressure is greater in which case, and that you can logically think of it as well. Okay, so if there are any questions, I can take it. If not, then we will move forward.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, so if the amount of liquid, I mean water inside the cell decreases, so the turgor pressure will also decrease. Then won't the cell pressure, I mean the wall pressure also automatically decrease? Because the pressure,
Say.
Sir, I was saying to keep the cell stable, there needs to be a pressure coming inside to outside and outside to inside. But if the amount of pressure coming from, I mean, the turgor pressure decreases, then won't the wall pressure also decrease automatically?
It will.
Why?
But then, see, in case of flaccid situation, water is moving outside, correct?
Yeah.
So that means outside the water is increasing, so it is putting a pressure for cell to shrink more and more. It's like now I have drawn one cell, but if you imagine there are hundreds of neighboring cells in 3 dimension, and then that water is getting like placed in the extracellular space that is outside the cell, and then that is pushing the cells towards its smaller and smaller size. Then the flaccidity will increase, right? That is what is wall pressure.
Sir, but once the water goes out, if there is less water inside, then there will be an osmotic pressure and the water will re-enter into the cell, right?
No, but then solute is taking care in that case, no? So that is what I am drawing it as a circle. These situations, they keep on happening.
Okay, it's a cycle.
Yeah, does that clarify?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
So it's not like a single situation. If we take it in individual situation, then yes, of course, that is wrong. But because this is a kind of cycle, the cell undergoes this process quite often. Okay, so now just in this case, what is shown here is different stages of plasmolysis. So you know this is the normal cell. Of course, there is cell wall and then there is inner membrane and so on. But if you see, look at this cell in the first stage, as and when the water, when the cell starts going to shrinkage or starts going to a flaccid state, the cell showing contraction of the cytoplasm. Now, do not imagine that this is an empty space because it is white, but it's just the representation. Imagine the cell in 3 dimension here. This inner part will also be a kind of sphere as in approximately sphere, can be oval and stuff like that, but yeah. So that way it is shrinking towards inside, then it will completely detach from the cell wall. If you can see here, there is a gap between the cytoplasma and the outer cell membrane, and when it is completely shrunk to this stage, that is what is plasmolyzed stage. And again, regaining back it to this stage is deplasmolysis. Yeah, and it can go further again in the other direction if it is completely like it is growing in terms of water. That is again your stage of turgidity, and back it will be normal cell, and again back it will be plasmolysis. So there are three like kind of diagram that ideally I should draw in this figure. This is actually how does it look like under the microscope. This is like let's say for example there is a regular cell, the first on the top on left hand side. If you add 20% sucrose, that is of course outside the cell, that the cell is being placed in the hypertonic solution, that is outside cell there is 20% sucrose, inside cell there is less concentration of solute or any sucrose for that matter. So the cell will go into this flaccid state, that is the cell cytoplasm is kind of shrinking, and you can see it here. Now in this case, most important fact to be noted is this wall that you see, like kind of brownish, yellowish, whatever color, is intact. The only change that is happening is in the inner membrane. Why this is intact? Because it is freely permeable to water. There has to be no restriction. So that way there is no change in that, but this one is getting like changing its shape. Now, if you add this cell back into distilled water, it regains its normal shape. And if you keep it further, it will even become turgid later. So that is what is the this diagram depicting. One is putting it in hypertonic solution, it becomes flaccid, and when you put the same cell into normal water or regular water, it becomes the normal cell again. So that is just how does it look like in microscope. Now, just the definition part of it, like because you will have to write definitions at some or the other time point. So turgidity is the state of a cell in which the cell wall is rigid. Of course, the cell wall stays intact like we saw in the earlier diagram, and is stretched by increase in the volume of vacuoles, because there is more and more water coming inside the cell. So cell is getting distended, and because of that there is more pressure or more volume of the vacuole, which is ultimately because of the absorption of the water inside, and the cell is said to be turgid, or the state is the turgid state of the cell. Condition is turgidity, or the phenomena is turgidity. Plasmolysis is the contraction of the cytoplasm. Remember, it is not the contraction of the cell wall, it is only of the cytoplasm or the cytoplasmic membrane. So ultimately whole of the cytoplasm is also getting contracted, cell wall stays intact, and it is caused due to the withdrawal of water. That is, the situation is kind of going towards flaccidity, and this happens when the cell is placed in the hypertonic solution, that is a concentrated solution outside the cell. So that 20% sucrose is an example of hypertonic solution in which a cell is placed, and there the plasmolysis happens. Flaccidity is the condition in which a cell content is shrunken, that is the cytoplasmic space is reduced and a cell is no more tight. That is, cell is no more in distended stage and the cell is said to be in flaccid state, while the phenomena is called as flaccidity. So that's just the quick definition of this terminology. And again, I am repeating, please differentiate between the state of the cell and the phenomena that is happening with that particular cell. Okay. So then moving forward with respect to what is the importance of turbidity. Now there are several points which we are going to discuss with respect to the importance as well as uses of turbidity. First one is in terms of closing and opening of stomata. Now for this, I guess I need to show you one diagram here. Yeah. So this particular structure is called as stomata. What is stomata exactly? We know a leaf surface has or a leaf has an upper surface and lower surface. Now on mostly on the lower surface of the leaf, there are these structures which is called as stomata, which is present in the epidermis layer, that is the outermost layer of the leaf. So, and these are responsible for allowing the water to move out of the leaf and gases like for example carbon dioxide to come inside the leaf structure so that it can get involved in the photosynthesis process. So that happens through this opening between the cells. So these two that you see in the kind of blue, these are the guard cells because they are protecting this structure called stoma, which is ultimately your stomata, and that whole thing is your stomatal unit. Yeah. So these guard cells, they are kidney bean shaped. So when they are in turgid state, that means they are creating this opening, and that's why the stomata is said to be open. When they are in flaccid state, that means they have no opening or no open unit, and that's when the guard cells or the stomata is said to be closed, right? So that is based on the turgidity and flaccidity of the guard cells, and that is when stomata is either open or closed. So that is where it is very very important that stage of turgidity or even flaccidity is very important in opening and closing of the stomata. That is, they are regulated by the turgidity of those guard cells which are having either the opening or no opening based on the situation of those guard cell, whether they are turgid or whether they are flaccid. I hope this part is clear. We will see this stomatal like processes more when we look at the transpiration process. But as of now, the structure wise, this has to be very clear to you that this opening and closing of the stomata, which is responsible for uh, transpiration process, that is pushing the water out of the leaf and exchange of carbon dioxide, that is absorbing the carbon dioxide inside the leaf structure for photosynthesis. These both processes, transpiration as well as absorption of carbon dioxide, is dependent on this stage of the stomata, that is turgidity of the guard cell leading to stomata open or flaccidity of the guard cell leading to stomata being closed. So that is one important point with turbidity. Now, in some cases, wherever there is a bacterial infection, especially in the plants, most of the bacteria they get killed on their own, and the reason is because of the turbidity. So what happens is, plant cell they have more water. Obviously, this bacteria will be in close vicinity to this plant cell where the more water is getting absorbed. So ultimately, bacteria will also absorb a lot of water, and it will cause bursting of the bacterial cell. Plant cell can withstand certain pressure of water because they have rigid cell wall and quite good plasma membrane. Bacterial wall does not have that good rigidity so that it can hold more water. And simple phenomena that will happen there is just bursting open of the bacterial cell. And that way it also protects the plants from infection by killing the bacteria. Yeah, bursting of the bacteria is ultimately killing the bacteria, and that way it protects the plant from infection. So that is another important point why turgidity is so important phenomena in case of plants. Next one, yeah, are there any questions here in the first point, in either closing or opening of stomata or with respect to this bacterial infection? Okay. If there are no questions, then the second point is growth of the cell. Now this is very simple. If the cells are there always in flaccid situation, the plant cannot maintain its shape, right? Ultimately, it is going to, like, you can imagine, uh, uh, like the tree behaving like a slime, right? It's just falling off. It's not upright. That is like kind of funny situation. But yeah, it's just when the turgidity is not there, the plant cannot maintain its upright nature and it will be flaccid. So that way, it is impossible for plants to grow. Now, when the cells enlarge, inflame due to the turgidity, that is, when there is more water, the cells will enlarge, and that is the ultimately turgidity situation. It helps the movement of nutrient solution from cell to cell. So whenever there is osmosis and diffusion, or turgidity and flaccidity, or even plasmolysis and deplasmolysis, this is like a cycle. So that is ultimately allowing the movement of water, and water does not move alone on its own. It always carries either food or nutrients or minerals. So that way, when this phenomenon they are simultaneously happening, that ultimately leads to the movement of solution, the nutrients, as well as the minerals, as well as the food particle, that is glucose. So that way, it is very, very important in terms of growth of the cell. Now, the last statement in the second point, it says this is because of the dissimilarity in the attentiveness of the cells. Now, the attentiveness of the cells are, like, you can forget the complexity of this statement. It simply means it is related to cell sap. Cell sap has higher concentration of solute, water will move inside. Cell sap has lower concentration of solute, water will move outside. Again, it goes back to the same phenomena of flaccidity and turbidity and osmosis and diffusion and so on. So that is what is very, very important for the growth of the cells. Then the third point, that is dispersion of seeds and spores. Now this is very interesting phenomena that happens because of the turbidity, and you might have seen even in case of custard apple, if you have ever seen it on the tree itself, when it ripens, more and more water is getting absorbed by the tree. Ultimately, it is going to the fruit, and fruit will burst open. So if you let that custard apple stay on the tree, especially in the rainy season, you can see that custard apple will just break open, and that is something like dispersion of the seeds, right? So many fruits and sporangia is a kind of structure present in some of the plant as well as some of the fungi as well, which contains the spores, which are nothing but the vegetative or asexually reproducing unit, right? So those sporangia, they will swell up, and it will ultimately, because of the more pressure of the water inside, it will burst open or it will split off, eventually leading to those spores being dispersed, and also leading to the seeds being spread out, and that is very important for this dispersion phenomenon. uh, One of the phenomena which is common around, especially in this kind of terrains like Sahyadri campus, is you must have seen that flying feathery white colored object. In Marathi or even in Hindi, we call it buddi, or we call it matari in Marathi. So that way, it is like just a small seed attached with feather-like threads to it. That is also spread out in the air because of the same phenomena of turbidity. What happens? There is unripe mango-like structure, which is like structurally similar feature. So it is the plant of that datura, and when the datura has a lot of water going inside the fruit will burst open, ultimately giving rise each seed with that feathery white color structure, and that keeps flying around the air, and then it goes and settles somewhere where the seed will ultimately be sprouting later whenever the favorable situation happens. So that is something like dispersion of seeds and spores. And the fourth point here is giving mechanical support due to the turgidity. Now, how? Like I said, if the cells are turgid, they will keep pushing the cell walls outside. So ultimately, it's like giving rigid structure to the plant, and that is what is giving the mechanical support to the plant. If you can imagine this situation, in animals or human we have skeleton to give structure to the body and also holding it in certain position. Plant as such have no skeleton, right? And still they can grow very tall, they can stay upright. Why? The phenomena there involved is turgidity. So that is the uh, like turgidity is responsible for giving that mechanical support, or what we call upright position of the trees and so on. So that is the one of the importance. Okay, we will just look at this particular slide and then we will stop for today. So the next phenomena is germination. That's where the turgidity is involved. Now germination, all of you know, that is sprouting of the seeds growing into a kind of sapling. That is germination. Now due to the turgidity, the embryo gets more rigidity. How? The cells of the embryo will get turgidity, so ultimately whole embryo is getting rigidity, and that will come out of the seed coat during germination. So you know a seed has a small embryo which is a kind of single cell, and there is lot of endosperm which is nothing but a nutritious tissue in the seed, right? And ultimately it is the embryo which grows out as a sprout, and that happens because of the turgidity. And it also helps in the movement of nutrient solution from the cell to cell, which is essential for the escalation of the dissimilar organ. Dissimilar organ as in whatever was present previously is now growing into something else. That is what it means by this dissimilar organ. So ultimately it helps in the movement of nutrient solution from one cell to other cell due to the difference in concentration of cells. Embryo may not have lot of uh, water, lot of nutrient inside, but it is taking the nutrient from the neighboring endospermic cell, and that way there is a movement of nutrient solution. And because of this difference in concentration of the cells, there is also built up of the turgidity, and ultimately without any turgor pressure the plant cells or the plant itself will stop working to situate itself in upright position, or even that sprout will not come out if there is no turgidity. So if we have observed, turgidity or the sprouting only happens when there is lot of moisture in the air, or when the seeds are soaked in water, like simplest that mudki or any kind of full grains. When you soak it in water, then only the situation of the germination occurs. Otherwise the germination does not occur because of turgidity is not happening. So ultimately it is necessary for growth of different organs because it maintains the turgidity, it maintains the nutrient flow and so on. So that way it is very important phenomena. And it is also important for maintaining the plants rigid and upright. This we already discussed. If it also result in the it's actually deplete of a cell. If the turgidity is not there, there is a spelling mistake, and it sells the plants from wilting. Now, wilting is one of the phenomena that you have observed. I am assuming that you have observed, like when you don't water a particular potted plant. Let's say you have a garden in your balcony or so, you don't water the plant for a day or two, those leaves of this plant, they become like they don't have any strength anymore, right? They are just hanging structure. They are very much green, they are very much fully functional internally, but they are just like a hanging structure. Otherwise they would be kind of running perpendicular to the plant axis. That particular phenomena of like having no strength in the leaf of the plant is called as wilting, and that we will see again further in the next few classes. As of now, I will stop here. There is quite a lot to this turgidity, which we will see one by one, especially in case of wilting of leaves and so on, but that we'll do in the next class. For today, I know there is already a lot of content that we discussed, so I will prefer to stop here. If there are any questions, I can take it.